Okay, so today we're going to try to create a sine or cosine function given some information, right? So this says, this says to find a function of the form y equals a times the cosine of b times x minus c plus d, given some information. Okay, so given that the period is equal to pi over 4, there is a phase shift equal to negative pi over 3, and your range is from negative 2 to 8. Okay, so first we're going to look at the phase shift, or the period, right? So the period is going to give us our B information. Give B information. Okay, and remember that our period, to find your period, is 2 pi over B, right? Our given period is this pi over 4. Okay, so you set those equal to each other and solve for B, right? So 2 pi over B equals pi over 4. So I get, I would then get that my pi's will cancel out, right? So that I'm left with just 2 over B equals 2 over B equals 1 over 4. Okay. And so then I'm going to cross multiply. So that 4B, sorry, not 4B, cross multiply would be 4 times 2 equals B, and so that means that B equals 8, okay? Okay, so far we've got our B equal to 8, right? The next step is we're going to look at the phase shift, right? So our phase shift was that C equals negative pi over 3. And remember, that was just our given, right? Okay. That was just given to us. Okay. So we now have that y equals a times the cosine of our b is 8 times x minus your c, right? So our c is negative pi over 3 plus some d, right? Okay, so this is what we have so far. We have some information here. Now they tell me that the range is from negative 2 to 8, right? So that means that negative 2 is our lowest point, and 8 is the highest point. Okay, so this is helping us find our D, right? Or plus or minus D. And so we want to first look at what is the difference between negative 2 and 8. Okay, and so we're going to do negative 2 minus 8, and that's negative 10. So the difference from negative 2, right, up to 8, right, we're graphing this, and we said that this is negative 2, and this goes all the way up to 8. Right? I don't know exactly what it looks like, but this is my lowest point. my highest point, there's 10 points in between these, right? Okay, so remember amplitude, we kind of cut our graph in half. So, right, we have our midline, and so if the difference from your highest point to your lowest point is 10, the difference from your midline to your highest point, or your midline to your lowest point, is half of that, right? So your A equals 5. So your A equals 5, right? It's your difference divided by 2. Right? Okay. And that's because, right, this is because the highest and lowest points are an equal distance from the middle. Okay. Okay. So now we have that y equals 5 times the cosine of 8 times x. If you remember, we had minus a negative pi over 3, so minus, right? Minus this negative becomes plus a positive, right? So this becomes 8 times x plus pi over 3, and then plus d, right? So this is our last step of finding what is our d, right? And remember, d is your vertical shift. Okay. So normally, right, we start at the midline being this y equals 0, right? But we've shifted this because, and I know that because my highest point now is 8 and my lowest point is negative 2. So we've definitely gone up some, right? And so to figure that out, right, with our amplitude of 5, our range should have been from negative 5 to 5, right? So in order to find, this is with no vertical shift. This is what our range would have been. No vertical shift. Range would have been from negative 5 to 5. So our given range is negative 2 to 8. So negative 2 plus, so negative 5, our starting point, right? Negative 5 plus some value equals negative 2. And 5 plus some value equals 8, right? And so this, you're going to get that same value for both of these. You should anyway, because your vertical shift has to affect your lowest point and your highest point the same way, right? So I'm going to just solve for x, right? So I'm going to add 5 on both sides. And here I get that x equals 3. I'm just going to double check here. I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. And so yeah, I get that x equals 3, right? So that is your vertical shift, okay? So your final answer is that y equals 5 times the cosine of 8 times x plus pi over 3 plus 3. Okay, and that is creating a cosine function given all of that information, right? Your information was that your period was pi over 4, and that you had a phase shift equal to negative pi over 3, and your range was from negative 2 to 8. So given all of this information, we went and step by step figured out what your A, your B, your C, and your D were. Okay? All right, so I'm going to, I think, probably do another video that's similar to this. Okay? So hopefully you see it again, different examples, that will help you. Okay. Hopefully this was helpful too. Okay.